So there is an interesting situation slash wrinkle developing with the SpaceX IPO, something you need to be aware of. It has to do with Google of all companies. All right. So you're like, wait a minute, what? So I'm going to explain this to you. And if you're thinking about trying to invest in the SpaceX IPO when it does launch this upcoming Friday, something you need to be aware of. Do I think that this is a reason to not invest in it? No, I think that there's ultimately too much long-term value with SpaceX and what they're doing, but this is something you need to be aware of because this is really interesting what we're seeing develop. Okay. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Before we jump into this, I want to share with you, look, the Dow's down 400 and NASDAQ's down 450. So we're obviously having a red day across the market. So pretty much everything is in the red. So now let's shift our focus again to the SpaceX deal. So what has happened is that SpaceX and Google have put together a compute deal. Okay. And it is, quote, raising some eyebrows. Is this something that you should be worried about? I don't think so long term, but it is interesting. Okay. So last week, SpaceX said that Google will pay $920 million per month to rent 110,000 NVIDIA GPUs, CPUs, and memory, as well as related components from 26 to June of 29, with computing capacity beginning to ramp up in September of 2026. So go on here. They also, SpaceX, agreed to another GPU capacity computing deal with Anthropic for 1.25 billion a month. Yeah, so north of almost $2.25 billion monthly. SpaceX has put together deals for those two respective companies, Google and Anthropic, to essentially rent out the computing power that's in the Colossus data center. Now, this was computing power that was built out for Grok, for X's AI platform that Grok is not using. All right. So at a high level, you're like, okay, that sounds pretty good. That's $2.2 billion a month, $26 billion, north of $26 billion on an annualized basis. That's already revenue coming into the SpaceX, treasury, if you will. Okay. So these are 3-year deals. But Musk has said that the Anthropic deal would be even shorter in duration. Okay. SpaceX has revealed that the bulk of their current losses are related to their AI division, i.e. Grok and all their AI initiatives. Okay. This is a way to obviously offset those losses. And he says that costs are going to accelerate in Q1. So signing these deals boosts revenue at a time when SpaceX is looking to justify a rich valuation. So now we're going to move into the kind of the part here where we're talking about where, is this something you should be concerned about? Is this something that's kind of like at an issue? Okay. So look, this is interesting. Quote, I can safely say SpaceX is the first company to ever add $26 billion in annual run rate between the date of its IPO filing with the SEC and when they go live with their IPO. They're the first to do this. Of course they are, right? It's one of Elon's companies. It's a dramatic pivot for xAI from artificial intelligence provider, meaning providing AI computing power for their own initiative, Grok, et cetera, to a server farm. 2.17 billion is the monthly per amount. So they're essentially renting out their data centers. And I'm sure that there's probably going to be more of these deals coming along the lines, because again, what they've built is literally a data center called Colossus, and it has a lot of extra computing power that Grok is not using. But here's where it gets interesting. So adding this $26 billion in additional revenue to SpaceX takes its valuation from a 100x revenue proposition to around a 40x, a better story for a still richly valued stock. Okay. So the timing of the Google and Anthropic announcements aligns with Google and Anthropic's compute needs. If they did not need the compute, they would not have signed the deal, per SpaceX saying that. Okay. So here's where it gets interesting. Some have argued that the big revenue deals helps banks like Goldman Sachs market SpaceX valuation story, right? Because Goldman is the lead underwriter for SpaceX IPO, charged with building the book of investors and large institutions that will buy SpaceX shares at $135 offer price. Again, I don't think there's going to be any issue. I think every single share is going to be bought. It's going to be fine. Okay. So it kind of goes into, by adding this revenue, it does change the valuation, right? Does that change the story the message around SpaceX IPO. Me personally, I don't think it does kind of long term. Yes, I know you could argue the valuation from 100x to a 40x, and that's real. I'm not minimizing that, right? But I look at it more from, I guess I've always had this long term investor outlook, and so I always look at it in that way. You know, SpaceX as a company is going to be insane. It's going to be amazing. I mean, if you don't know this, they're responsible for 80% of all of the rockets going into space, delivering payload into space, delivering all of the satellites and everything. SpaceX, 80%. Nobody's even close to that. Okay. And then you talk about the AI division and all that kind of stuff. All right. So, you know, and again, we're looking at a 1.75 trillion market valuation when SpaceX launches at $135 a share. Okay. And it's interesting with that valuation, it's 322 billion in projected AI revenue and does that justify it? Okay. So now Google and Anthropic pay rent on hardware Grok couldn't use. What's the story there? Why couldn't Grok use it? Right. Is that some type of a failing around Grok as an AI platform? I don't necessarily believe that. I just think that, again, what happened was they built out a tremendous amount of computing power, and now they're essentially leasing it. Who's another company that does that? Oh, I don't know. Amazon AWS. I mean, that's what they do, right? They're a cloud computing, and that business started from the fact that Amazon built out all this infrastructure, and then they were looked around and went, we have all this infrastructure. Why not start to lease this out to other companies? And it's since become an extremely profitable business, right? So how I kind of look at this is that the leasing of the computing power, the GPUs, the CPUs, the memory, the infrastructure, et cetera, it could completely and possibly become a business model inside of SpaceX, right? Just like you see with Amazon's AWS business. I think that that's intriguing, and I think that that's a really compelling story that was never mentioned in this piece of content. So to me, I think that's a good point to bring up and a good point to kind of end on if we're talking about market valuation. Yes, I know there's a change in kind of what the valuation looks like, but ultimately, I think what we're seeing is possibly the beginning of yet a different or another revenue stream inside of the inside of the SpaceX umbrella, which is essentially leasing out or renting out computing power, just like Amazon AWS. Okay. All right. So before I let you go, I want to share with you a way for you to make even more money with your investments. Okay. So this is what you see here is AMD's chart, right? Advanced Micro Devices. Okay. We're on the 2-hour candles, and I want to show you this. So this is a buy alert coming in from my trading indicator X1 algo. So buy alert to a sell alert. See that 26 days, 77%. See that little blue box right there. And then you see a series of other buy and sells along the timeline, ultimately ending up in here at 65 days, see 173%. So this software tells you when to buy and when to sell. Do you have a way to know that right now? I'm telling you right now, you're flying with blinders on. You don't have a clue the perfect time to buy and or sell any stocks that you own, and definitely AI stocks. So like right here, when this seller came in, I sold some of my AMD and I took some profits because the software told me it was. And look, and since that sell, we've seen it go down about 14%. Okay, we've seen the same thing like with Micron. You can see like right here, this is Micron's chart. Okay, sell to that buy, and then we have another buy alert coming in at 12%. But ultimately, you can see like from here all the way up to there in 43 days is 125%. So how would you like to have made 125% profit on your Micron and know when to buy and know when to sell, perfect time, and lock in that profit and put that profit in your pocket, in your bank account? Because that's what the software does. It runs on iPhone, runs on Android, it runs on any computer you want it to run on. And it's literally about $1.10 a day to use it. There's a link in the description below for you to go check this out. Okay. The prices are cheaper than you see on the screen here. If you use that link, there's a discount code down there as well. Use that discount code to get the prices down to about $1.10 a day. There's 30-day, no questions asked, refund guarantee. What does that mean? Try the software for 30 days. You don't like it for any reason, you get a complete refund. You cancel, get a refund. By the way, on a go forward basis, you can cancel at any time. No long-term contracts, none of that stuff. Okay. There's live coaching every week in the members area, and there's a Discord private community behind this. It's a whole community where you can chat with other members and all that kind of stuff. So it's all there for you for about $1 a day. Okay. So look, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing every single day and trying to and expect a different outcome. If you're not making the profits that you're wanting to make with your stock trades, why not leverage some technology for about $1 a day and use that to help you know when to buy and when to sell any of your AI stocks or any of your stocks and make even more profits? That's what the software does. Links are right down there. I'll see you. Let me know what you think about the SpaceX situation with Google and Anthropic buying computing time. I think it's a good thing. See you. Bye.